Hello, welcome to my home. This is paradise where I can breathe and I can be exactly who I am and enjoy being alive. This next clip was supposed to represent me diving into the lake and Ariose splashing into the Atlantic. But the micro SD card wasn't fast enough for the 4K video, so none of this was recorded. Was this a premonition? This is Gland River, Nova Scotia, where Ariose was left on the Hardin Fall, and also is my starting point for this solo journey. There you can see the Gland River, and looking out to the Atlantic Ocean past Hancock Island. And this is Ariose. It's ready for the water, will take care of me while voyaging south and experiencing the immense beauty of the ocean.
Would you come and meet me there for life? Hello, my name is Tim, and this is Ariose. Welcome. If you've been reading this blog since 2016, you've heard, you know all about the old stories, and you also know that there's a lot of references to my being autistic, and so this new blog is solo, and I'm also going to be talking about my autistic experiences in references to sailing, but also specifically about being autistic. And the autistic discussion is going to be, you'll be able to find that in a page called Tim's Autistic Journey. It's up on the right. Or if you're on a mobile phone, I think you have to scroll right to the bottom of the screen. And that will be dedicated. You can go there and read that if you're interested. Those who just want to watch the sailing videos can subscribe to YouTube. It'll be Ariose Sailing. So Cheryl and I bought this boat in 2014. In 2015 we sailed it in Lake Temiskaming for the summer, just to get used to the boat and to figure out what it needed to be refit with in order to do a longer voyage on the ocean. And then in 2016 we brought it back to North Bay and left for Bahamas from Kingston, Ontario. So we trailered it to Kingston, went across Lake Ontario to the New York Canal system, and down the Hudson River through New York City and down the Atlantic coast to the Bahamas. We had a fantastic time down there for about a month and a half, close to 2 months I think, before we had to turn around and start heading north again in order to get back before hurricane season, which begins in June, July. So that was a really great first start, and we didn't sail again till 2020 on Ariose. We trailered her to Kingston again, went down through the canal system on the St. Lawrence, and all the way to Rimouski, Quebec. But during COVID, as you're all aware, it was just too difficult to go anywhere without having to suffer a great amount of different protocols and things that we wouldn't be would really take the enjoyment out of sailing and exploring. So we turned around and sailed back to Montreal, put Ariose back on the trailer and trailered her back home, kept her in the boat shed for the winter, and then in 2022 we sailed down the St. Lawrence again, but this time from Montreal to bypass the lock system. And we made it as far as we made it all the way to Nova Scotia, through Ile de Madeleine, the Magellan Islands, where we encountered Hurricane Fiona, and that's where we left Ariose on the Heart. We took Ariose out of the water at that point, and that ended in Gold River, Nova Scotia, which is south of Halifax, and that was the end of couple sailing on Ariose. So from here on in, it's solo sailing, and I'm also including information about being autistic. And thanks for coming aboard. And if you want to subscribe to the YouTube Sailing Ariose Sailing, you can do that, or you can just subscribe to the blog and check out any references to the sailing videos that you want, or just read the blog. So Shirley brought me here in mid-August, and we were afraid about what we were going to find, because boats notoriously, they can hold water out, but they also hold water in. So even if a little bit of water gets in over a whole winter, it basically molds up inside. And it did. It was pretty moldy inside, but not as bad as we thought it could have been. And all the bright work on the outside still looked pretty good. You could tell that the scuppers had been, on the outside, had been plugged from needles and debris, so the water would just kind of run over the tow rails and down the side of the boat, which left a lot of dirt and streaks and stuff, so there's a lot of stuff to clean. I got inside the boat and just started cleaning it with some mold killer, mildew killer, and it actually doesn't take too long. Like in a few hours you can go from one end to the other, clean it right up, and it starts to feel like home again. So that was pretty nice. I think it was pretty disheartening for Cheryl to see the boat in that condition, because it does look really strikingly awful, and it's depressing. But so I did a lot of that cleaning, but that's fine. It's better. We found that we stay out of each other's hair when one of us is trying to work. So anyway, Cheryl stuck around for a couple of days just to make sure that there wasn't something I needed to go into town for, because I don't have access to a car, and there's really no support here at all. There's no stores nearby. I have to walk quite a ways. I'd have to walk 10 k's into town. So once we got to a point where, so maybe a couple days, and she really wanted to head back and start visiting and seeing some things on the way back home. So we said our teary goodbyes within a couple days, and she drove away, and that was tough. It was tough to watch her go, because I knew we weren't going to see each other for a while. So now Ariose is solo, and that's me. I'm going to solo Ariose. I'm not sure where I'm going yet, how far I'm going to get, whether I'm going to feel comfortable, but I do need to learn an awful lot before I can actually make it somewhere and feel confident and not put myself at risk. There's always risks sailing, but the risks are mitigated and they're worth it because life is just too short. So I have to get used to using the steering wind vane. As a solo sailor, you need to use the wind vane. The steering wind vane will steer the boat without any power requirements, and you can basically go on about your day doing other things, or not having to focus so much on steering as navigating and watching out for ships and doing other things that are important. Plus at night, so that you can get some sleep, you can actually use the steering wind vane to control the boat in between getting up to check for other boats and that sort of thing. So I got to the big tasks after getting a lot of the gear out of the boat, like the solar panels, getting them up onto the solar arch at the back, because there's no room in the boat at all with all that stuff in here. Getting the sails hanked on, as I mentioned before, a lot of cleaning, which I'm still doing after nearly a month of being here. We'll get into that later. But yeah, so what else? Oh, the Dodger and Bimini had to be put up, and that's such a savior because the companionway in a sailboat like this is just totally exposed to the sun and the rain. So having that Dodger and Bimini up means you can leave the companionway hatch completely open and you don't get any rain in here. And the bugs have not been too bad either, so I haven't even had to put up any screens. So that's been super, super nice to have that open. And a lot of days too, while I was drying out the boat, cleaning it up and stuff, I was able to leave the forward hatch open as well, and got a lovely breeze coming through, and that's helped to dry things out. So that's actually pretty lucky. I have to work on, I'm going to practice for the next month or so. Practice seeing, hopefully I can deal with some of my seasickness issues, which that's been a real problem for me. That's partly because I have anxiety issues related to being autistic, and so that's sort of a really heightened experience for me. Since the sensory issues really compound to seasickness, so I'm going to have to really focus on that and see whether I can get better at dealing with that using various methods of seasickness abatement, and also being proactive before I go on passes to take care of some of those issues. Some of the major projects I really had to complete before getting Ariose in the water. One of them, so cleaning all the gear off, the sails, anchors, getting the solar panels up, enclosures on. If I sailed away to a distant shore, if I sailed away to a distant shore, if I sailed away to a distant shore, if I sailed away, would you come and meet me there for life?
I sailed away to a distant shore, if I sailed away to a distant shore. If I sailed away to a distant shore, if I sailed away, would you come and meet me there? Oh, quite a few mechanical things. One of them was that we, in fall, before we left, we had someone drill a hole right above our keel, which is at the very bottom of our bilge. And what that does is allows water to escape. It's called a garboard plug, and the garboard plug is not there, just the hole was. So when I got back here, one of the first tasks was to install an actual garboard plug. And there's a video to it right here, so if you want to check that out.
The next thing that I worked on was the packing gland. Now, the packing gland is just ahead of the stuffing box. Packing gland has a material in it that goes around the drive shaft, the propeller shaft, and it allows water to come in through the back end of the boat along in the stern tube, and it cools the shaft. There's some friction and it cools the shaft, and normally that friction, that packing gland is allowed to leak a few drops of water per minute, and that basically, it doesn't allow lots of water in, but it cools the shaft. It's a really totally new. Sorry, there's a lot of fruit flies in here. I got rid of the bananas anyway. So I found some new packing material, but the biggest thing was I'd never been able to get the there's a packing gland nut that you put the packing into, and there is a lock nut that locks onto it. And I couldn't tell, I've never been able to tell which way you're supposed to turn each one, and I can only get down there with one arm fully extended. So it's a really tricky operation. But I managed to do it, and anyway, if you want to have a look at the video here, go ahead.
So I'm installing new packing in the packing gland. That's this nut here. I've got 2 pieces of packing stuffed in this side already. As you see, I got a 1 here, a 2 here, and a 3 marked on there, because you want to stagger the joints. So now I'm working on number 3. So this is a Teflon based one. It's supposed to be dripless, but after the dripping we had before, I don't mind if it drips a little bit. Normally they're supposed to drip. This has been quite a fun project. because they're cut to go around a 1-inch shaft. Okay, so now we got it just into the opening. And let's push it. Push it in all the way. Just a bit at a time. Feel it seating against the previous two pieces of packing. So what this allows the shaft to do is stay cool by allowing water to come in through the stern tube, and it cools the shaft, and generally they drip, and that's how you know you've got the right amount of water coming in.
On Android, you can play everything in one place. With our local files feature, you can have every old CD recording, every voice note, every song, and every podcast. Simple, seamless, so quick to set up. All the audio you love, all in one place. With local files, only on Spotify.
Okay, that feels even all the way around. So now it's just a matter of sliding the nut on and threading it back on. And that other nut is the tensioning nut. So once you've got this on snug, then you pack it tight with that other one.
The next big problem was when we got back in fall, we had a leak from a diesel leak. Now the diesel just dripped straight down into the bilge water, and then every time the bilge pumps out, it pumps raw diesel out. For me, that was a major nightmare because that cost me a huge amount of anxiety in the fall. I was just in a panic because I don't want a freaking drop of diesel going out into the environment. So that was hard to deal with. I felt really bad about it, but so I really had to solve this while the boat was up on the hard, and that means getting the engine running and figuring out what the problem is. And turns out that it was I guess this model of engine they changed the O-ring at a certain point in its manufacture, but they never changed the manufacturer number, the part number. So you order the part number and you can get the wrong one. So now I know which O-ring goes in the secondary fuel filter of this Yanmar. So that's a good thing to know. And all I needed to do is just hand tighten it on, and took care of that. So that was a major plus. We had lots of problem with boom bangs, and anyone who's been reading our blog for a while, know that we have a rigid boom bang that we have had a lot of issues with. 3 different occasions. The boom bang that pushes off of the mast in order to push the boom up into the air. There's too much force on it for the boom to handle, and it actually was pulling our gooseneck off the mast. I repaired it several times, making it stronger each time, and in the end, it ended up, instead of just bending the track, it ended up breaking the gooseneck fitting, the original gooseneck fitting, right off. So what I did was, I think in the blog you can see the picture of the springs. I actually just took the springs right, there's 3 major springs. I think they're about I don't know, 10 inches long or so. I took them right out of the bang. And so basically it becomes a hollow tube with all of the appropriate rope 4-to-1 rope blocks on it, and it's just a really fancy regular rope bang now, I think. So I hope that works out. I haven't really tried it, but I don't see why it won't work, and at least I know now that, you know, I'm just going to be pulling the boom straight down, and if it's going up, it's just pivoting on one point. It's not being pulled. It's not being pushed up from the mast. So I know that that's going to be a much better solution to this problem. Oh yes, and then there's the, you often create problems when you get rid of problems, and when I was dealing with the diesel leak, I got the engine started and I hit the throttle, got it up to high RPMs, and when I went to push it back, the throttle lever actually snapped off right in my hand. So over time, you know, something seizes up, and I always thought it was the throttle cable, because we had a lot of water during Fiona. We had a lot of water coming to the cockpit. And I really thought that the issue was the cable itself, and the same thing with our transmission forward and reverse cable. I thought, you know, they were seizing right up. But what it turned out was the binnacle has 2 pins, stainless steel pins that go through the aluminum casing. And they transfer, when you push on the throttle, the levers, they transfer it into a rotation, but those had started to seize up just from aluminum corrosion. Aluminum can corrode quite seriously in contact with other metals. So all I had to do is knock those out of there and clean them up, sand them down a little bit, and put some oil on them and stick them back in. And the throttle levers feel like, I don't think they've ever felt that good, actually, in I don't know, 9 years that we've owned this boat. So there you go. Once I had those ready, I was ready to go in the water on August 25th. And then there's a lot of marina politics around here right now, unfortunately. I was told I could go in whenever I want, but it turns out that the person who told me that was on his way out. So he wasn't really too concerned about caring about the patrons of this marina, unfortunately. So my input got delayed, and I was ready to go in the 25th. It's now, what is it now? It is September 13th. So I've lost 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks sitting here. Now it's a little bit of blessing in disguise, because there's been hurricanes, but I know I'm going to have to deal with hurricanes anyway. So yeah. At least this one I can sit out on hard, so I had to wait an extra week for this hurricane. This is Hurricane Lee, and it's about to hit right directly over us on Saturday. So that'll be interesting. I've got pretty much everything ready to get off the boat. I've got lots of windage taken off the boat. I had to remove all the sails, take everything that I put back on. I still have to take a few other things off. And once I do that, I'll stick them inside the boat, close everything up, and then I'm going to my mentor George's place for the night. And hopefully I come back to a boat that's still in good condition. They've never had any lost boats here, apparently. So that remains to be seen. Anyway, there's another part to this video coming up shortly. I'm going to be talking about the other part of the Ariose blog and vlog, and that is talking about autism, about being autistic. So stay tuned for that. So thanks for joining me on Ariose. Whether you follow my autistic content, or whether you're interested just in the sailing and following my travels, and my travels as an autistic adult, an autistic solo sailor, I'm going to be creating content, hopefully at least bi-weekly, and but I'm going to need help, I think, in the future to continue creating this content. So if you are interested in some of the stuff that I do and hope to see more of it, you can. I am setting up a Patreon page at Ariose Sailing on YouTube, and you can subscribe to me there, or you could potentially just subscribe to the blog itself and have all that content available to you as well. So, fair winds but calm seas, everyone.